Strategist Donna Brazil and our CNN contributor, the Republican strategist, Alex Castellanos. Guys, thanks very much for coming in. Is it fair to say, Alex, and I'll start with you, you're the Republican, both of you have worked on presidential campaigns. Like it or not, tonight is Rick Perry's last chance to get his momentum back on track.
If it's not his last chance, he's on life support. It's very close to that, Wolf. I would say the good thing for these guys is they run against each other, so one of them has to win. So you're never quite entirely out of it. But yes, he has demonstrated remarkable weakness. Republicans know one thing about Barack Obama. He may not be very good at being president, but he's very good at wanting to be president and campaigning. And Perry has demonstrated he just may not be able up to that task, not only of being the president, but of campaigning and holding his own in the debate against Obama.
He's never lost the race in Texas, so why is it so hard to go from unbeatable in Texas and all of a sudden he's very beatable in this race for the Republican nomination?
Well, it looks as though he wasn't prepared for the first couple of debates. Well, he came across as someone who didn't know the issues. He was unsteady on his feet. He has an opportunity tonight to prove himself. Look, he has raised, what, more than $15 million. He's put together an incredible organization in some of the key early states. So if he can prove tonight that he's on top of the issues, he can really take the case to Herman Cain and Mitt Romney, I think Rick Perry can get back in his race.
But even if he does, the doubt still lingers. When he gets up on a stage with Obama, will we see that other Rick Perry we saw a few weeks ago in debates, the weak one? So there's a concern among Republicans that Rick Perry's a coffee table book, all pretty pictures, but not a lot of text there. When you can't sell the man, you sell the plan. So I expect tonight to see Rick Perry get out there talking about his own economic plan.
He released a video today showing all the positive things about Rick Perry. Mitt Romney and Comcast released a video showing all the negative things about some of the others.
As someone who knows Rick
Perry.
Rick Perry is a very strong Republican conservative. He has conservative issues, conservative credentials. I think Mitt Romney is still trying to prove himself as the viable conservative in this race. So at this point, I still believe Rick Perry has some time to prove himself and to regain his momentum.
So Herman Cain, you just had a chance to meet him informally here. Is he the real deal as far as potentially becoming the Republican presidential nominee?
He's a guy. He's a wonderful people's person. I think he has a great deal of momentum behind him right now because people know that he's approachable. I was down in Georgia over the weekend and people kept telling me about Herman Cain. You got to get to know Herman Cain. Look, I think he's a viable candidate, but can he turn all of this wonderful good feeling into a campaign organization that can attract delegates? That's still one of the unknowns.
He can. He's growing. The hardest thing for a candidate to do, and Don and I have seen this for years, is to grow through a campaign and become better than they started. Herman is not a serious candidate yet, but he's on his way. You're seeing him, even Wolf, the way when you tested him here on the electrified fence, he backed off of it, took a more responsible position. He explained how he'd make decisions. Israel, I'd weigh my options, get more information. You're seeing the education of Herman Cain.
I always thought that the first, this was years ago, Republican African-American who would get that Republican presidential nomination would have been Colin Powell, not necessarily Herman Cain. What does it say about the Republican Party, from your perspective, Donna, that he is now the front runner together with Mitt Romney?
Well, I think it's incredible, in large part because you have a Tea Party that is really out there. They're excited, they're energetic, they're organized, they can bring resources to the table. I thought the first Republican nominee would be Condoleezza Rice, not Colin Powell, because Colin Powell was reluctant to run, and Condoleezza Rice may have considered it at one time. But look, it's still too early to decide right now who will end up with the Republican nomination, because I think the situation is still volatile.
Let me play a little clip of the President of the United States. He seems to be getting a little bit lost in all of our discussion of these Republicans. Here's the President speaking earlier in the day.
We don't need a Republican Jobs Act or a Democratic Jobs Act. We need a Jobs Act. We need to put people back to work right now. As I said, the ideas we put forward are ideas that in the past have been supported by Democrats and Republicans. So the question is, what makes it different this time? Other than that I proposed it.
He's got a point there, you got to admit.
let me just say what makes it different this time is that we have now had a president who's nearly bankrupted the country. That's what's made it different.
George W. Bush had no role in that?
Well, listen, we
never tell the truth about the
Democrats
deficit.
and Republicans spent a lot, but there's one president who's increased, I mean, we all know the numbers, increased the debt more than all the other presidents before him combined.
The national debt doubled during the Bush administration.
That is totally not true. And not only that, it's another lying smear against this president.
Hold on, guys.
Don't
We're not going to
lie.
read that. I'll just point out that the national debt when President Bush took office was $5 trillion. When he left office, it was $10 trillion. So that's a fact.
Wolf? It was actually less than that.
It was $10 trillion when he left office. It was $5 trillion when he took office. It's now $14 trillion or whatever it is.
We're not going to get the Republicans to understand that facts do matter.
But what's happened is that Obama has been sinking in the polls while Republicans have been getting these debates. We're getting to know an alternative.
19 months of job growth. It's not enough to get us out of the big hole that we found ourselves when George Bush left office, but it's 19 months of consecutive job growth.
Barack Obama actually is the president.
Well, 19 months of job growth. That's much better in a jobs plan than the Republicans.
All right, guys. Just to be continued. Thanks very much. President Obama, a victim of thieves. Yes, a victim of thieves on his bus tour in Virginia and North Carolina. What